everybody, welcome back to the channel, Crafting and Crime Daily. Here's the logo. And look what I made. Happy Halloween. What's this say? It says, I'm the grandma witch. What else does it say? It's like what? Oh, it's like a normal grandma, but more magical, because I can make these hats. So, little pumpkins, big pumpkins. Someone's going to win this hat tonight. Tonight's the grand finale of the event that I was doing with DP Addiction Adventures. And we're going to give away the grand prize in that. She gave away a grand prize on Friday. I've got one to give away tonight. And I'm going to show off all the paintings. And someone, if you are a member or a Patreon for this channel, even if you sign up today or you make a one-time donation to support the channel, you're going to go into a drawing for the hat. How cool is this? Yep. It's like a large women's or a women's hat. It's a woman's hat. But I think anybody could wear it. A man, a woman, yeah. I think it's sort of unisex. Oh my gosh, whoever wins, I want a picture of you with this hat on. Okay. So, first of all, let me apologize for yesterday's video. I had a very stressful day yesterday. I had to fire my lawyer for the accident that I got into because just a long story. Maybe I'll tell it in the live tonight. But anyway, I fired him. I'm just going to handle it myself because he doesn't have time for this, my little old case. He's got bigger fish to fry. What he doesn't know is that, little cases like this could be his bread and butter if he paid attention. But anyway, that's another story. So when it comes to the clips that I was supposed to add to yesterday's video, when I went to put them into the video, after all this other stuff went down, there was no sound on the clips. I'm like, oh. So at that point, I was ready to just throw everything. Yeah, so I had to just put everything down. I just uploaded the video and I put everything down and went in my room and just did some deep breathing and calmed down because I was so angry. And you just have days like that where nothing goes your way, nothing. And that was my day yesterday. So I do apologize. I maybe I can queue up the clips for tonight's live. I don't know. We'll see. But and you didn't miss anything. I mean, I still gave you the flavor of the testimony, and covering these two trials is a little stressful too because it's so much information and everybody's got the good witnesses on the same day. So today you're going to hear all about what went down in the Adelson trial. I will catch you up on the Kowalski tomorrow, including the testimony of Kathy Beatty, who I almost didn't recognize. I turned that on and I said, "Who is this lady?" Because she lightened her hair. She's trying to go blonde now. She had much darker hair in the deposition that they showed earlier. So if finally I said, "Is that Kathy Beatty?" I think it is Kathy Beatty. It was. But from the little bit I saw, she is coming across very nicely to the jury. She really is. They have the female lawyer examining her, and so they're just kind of softening everything up because in the deposition she was very adversarial, but not so much in front of the jury. So I have no idea which way that case is going to go. I really don't. All right, so going back to the Adelson case, oh my God, Catherine Rangbanowa was brought in from prison. She was brought over, and see, my head doesn't go all the way up here, so I'm just trying to. It's okay. So you know what? I'm gonna take this one off because this is for the giveaway, and I'm gonna put my other one on because this one's my favorite. It is freezing outside today, by the way. Oh my goodness. Okay. This, I love this. It's my favorite of all times. Okay, so she comes in. She's got a purple jumpsuit on, and she takes a stand. She's not looking terrible. She's got. Oh my God, her hair got really, really long. It was long before, but she always had it braided, and she was always wearing a suit for her trial. That's when I got to see her. But now she's in the jumpsuit because she's convicted and she's serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. And as the defense so eloquently pointed out, you only have one way of getting out of there, or two ways, right? You have two ways of getting out of jail. One, in a coffin. Two, um, by giving favorable testimony here at trial. So she made it very clear that she had not reached a deal with the state, that she was there to present her evidence, and she says, I don't have a deal with the state. But she now wants to do the right thing. Now, she took the stand in her own defense in the first two trials. So let me just back up a little bit. If you're not familiar with the trial that I'm talking about, this is the state of Florida versus Charles Adelson. He is said to be the mastermind, having two hitmen. He had his girlfriend hire two hitmen to go kill his brother in law, Dan Markel, who was a professor at Florida State University, who was married to his sister Wendy. Wendy says, I didn't know anything about this. I'm totally innocent, but she's an unindicted co conspirator. Do you think she'll ever be indicted? Yeah. I think one of these days they're going to sit. They're just trying to get enough evidence to put in front of a grand jury to get an indictment. They haven't gotten it yet. I think, and they're hoping through this trial they get something. So, but it's not looking good because most people are saying, all the players are saying they don't know Wendy Adelson, never talked to Wendy Adelson. So, did her brother do this for her and not tell her about it? Is there a chance she was just kept in the dark by the whole family? Because there's no question, I think the mom, Donna, mom, Charles's mother was involved. But Wendy, she's claiming her innocence. In any case, Catherine is on the stand. Catherine was, at the time of the murders, dating Charlie Adelson. Now she takes the stand and she said that she testified in the first two trials and she lied. She says, I lied to protect myself. Well, why do you want to come clean now? She goes, well, I want to do the right thing. And I want to get some closure for his family, Dan Markel's family. How nice of her. So she proceeded to say that back in October of 2013, because this murder happened in July of 2014, just a few weeks after they start dating, Charles asked her. Now, he met her when she worked at his roommate's dental office. He had a dentist roommate. So she was working for the dentist roommate as a receptionist, and he would run into her there because he was a periodontist who would travel to all these different dental practices. So he went to this dental practice. She said the name of it, Sophie's something or other. Anyway, that's where he met her. And he pursued her and he asked her out. And so after they've been dating a few weeks, they get into the car one night. It might have even been Halloween night. And he says, do you know anybody that can kill someone for me? Is that what he said? Exactly. Well, how did she put it? She said, hold on, I need a new notebook. Um, she said it was Charlie that came up with the idea to kill Dan Markel. But she doesn't know who Dan Markel is. She didn't know until almost till she was arrested who Dan Markel is, because he would always just say, my brother in law. And he never used Dan Markel's name. So, yeah, Halloween of 2013, he said, do you know anyone who can harm someone. Harm is the term that he used. And she said, yeah. And then they went on with their conversation and it never came up again. Um, who she was referring to was her common law husband, Sigfredo Garcia. They were not together at the time, but he's the father of her children. And she knew that, he had some affiliations with gangs and he's not such a great guy, but he would do this for her if she asked. But she didn't say that to Charlie. This was just in her head. She thought about it. So, yeah, she just knew Dan Markel as my brother-in-law, Wendy's husband. Like Dan Markel's name never came up. He told her that his mom was very, very stressed over this whole divorce thing with Wendy's husband, and that she wasn't eating or sleeping, and his father's very ill, and he wasn't doing well, and they were both stressed over um, this divorce proceeding. So she goes to him one night in July. They're on a date, and she goes over to his house afterwards, and he hands her a manila envelope. He's wearing gloves. He hands her a manila envelope. He actually doesn't hand it to her. He puts it into her diaper bag and he tells her, don't touch this envelope. Just give it to whoever's going to do the job. And all the instructions are in there. Just don't look at it. Don't touch it. Just give it to the person. Um, you know, I typed all the instructions out on someone else's computer at work. I didn't do it on my own computer, um, so they won't come back to me. I don't have any fingerprints on it. I didn't lick the envelope. Just give it to whoever. And I'm telling you, this is her story. So she takes the diaper bag. She goes home. Uh, Sergio comes by and picks up the diaper bag gets the envelope. And she says, I'm sure I touched it somewhere along the way because I was reaching in my diaper bag to get things and I probably touched the envelope. But so everything was in there, including his address, his name, his schedule, everything. And I'm sure she's just giving us like the bare bones of what the truth really is. And honestly, I watched her testify in the first two trials. She was very convincing, crying the whole thing. Um, do I think she's telling the truth now? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know if I can believe her or not, which is what I'm sure the jury's thinking. I mean, she's lied twice. And she kept saying on cross examination, yes, because he was pointing out all her lies. And she says, I told you I lied to protect myself. Here's the reason why she lied. She finally came out. She was lying because she was offered full immunity. She sat in prison or jail, not jail, not prison, jail. She sat in jail for 3 years with full immunity on the table. She could have gotten out, walked out, gone home with her kids if she had told the story that she's telling on the stand today. But she wouldn't do it. And the reason she said she wouldn't do it is because her children's father was facing the death penalty. Sigfredo Garcia had been charged, and they were going after him with the death penalty as a possible punishment. And she didn't want this is her children's father. Now, right before Sigfredo's trial, they took death penalty off the table and just went for life in prison. So why didn't she do it at that point? Well, by then she was already so deep into the lies that she couldn't backpedal. Yeah. Plus, she thought she would get off. She didn't think it would ever come back to haunt her. So she gives this envelope to them. Let's see, what else does she say? Okay. She did get money from Charles Adelson a couple of times to cover the expenses that Sigfredo and Luis Rivera had. A couple $100, she said, because they got to eat and pay tolls and, you know, all that stuff. So he gives her a couple $100. Now she said that the night of the murder, she came over to his house and he handed her a a paper bag, like, you know, like a lunch bag, a paper bag, and inside the paper bag was money that was in a Ziploc bag, and then the money was stacked and stapled. That was the money for the murder. So she took it that night, goes back the next, goes, well, she actually spent the night. She said when she got there, he was very, very frantic and anxious. So they both took a Xanax and went to sleep. Then the next morning, she's like, oh no, I overslept. I got to go pay the, you know, Sigfredo and Lewis. She didn't say that to Charlie. Um, so apparently, Charlie did not know Sigfredo was the one doing the murder. He might have suspected that, but he didn't know. She never really told him. And Sigfredo, she never told Sigfredo who it was that hired him. Like, yeah, weird. So they commit the murder. She finds, she goes to where she meets Lewis somewhere the next day and she pays him. And then she splits the rest of the money between her and Sigfredo. But she said that she was also getting a paycheck from the Adelson Institute. And they said, well, what were you doing at the Adelson Institute? Now, in the prior two trials, she had some BS story about she worked from home. And now she was saying, no, I didn't do anything. Oh, also, she might have been cleaning the office. No, I wasn't cleaning the office. I didn't do anything. I just got a paycheck. And she was given, like, Donna Adelson wrote her 5 paychecks all the same time in a row from the ledger. You know, 5 sequential paychecks were made out to Catherine McDaniel and probably paid all at the same time. So she went to, let's see, oh, and that night, the night of the murder, when she went over to Charles's house to get the money, he answered the door with a gun because he was that anxious about the murder that had happened that day. So she also said that he didn't keep large. She didn't think he kept large amounts of cash in the house. Then later on during her testimony, she said, "Well, he had a safe full of money," but she said, "I didn't think it was as much as what he was supposed to pay them, I think, which was 130 something grand." So, because he told her his parents had given him the money and they had just left when she arrived. Why would they give him the money in a Ziploc bag and a paper bag stapled? I, I don't know. Because at first Catherine testified, oh, he doesn't keep large amounts of money in his house. Then later on, she had to backpedal because she knows that Charles's other girlfriend testified that he had stacks of money that were stapled in this safe. And she said, oh, yeah, I know he kept his money in the safe, but I didn't think it was that much. Okay. So in cross-examination, she was asked if she tried to extort money from Charles Adelson. She said, no, I didn't. No. And then she was shown the transcript of the Dolce Vita. That's where she meets up with Charles Adelson at this restaurant, and they have the conversation. And the state got everything filtered so they could figure out what was being said at this table. So they put up this photograph, the state did. They put up a photograph of all the code words that were used during that conversation. So Wendy, I keep saying Wendy. So Catherine was asked, she was shown all these code words, and So they walked through them, and I'm going to walk through that. But she was also asked if the transcript, you've seen the transcript of the conversation that we have at Dolce Vita, is that transcript accurate? And she said, yeah, it's accurate. That's what we were saying, but you were talking in code. So then she put up the codes. Let me see if I've got that picture here so I can talk about it. Okay, so the first code was $65.70. Well, those happen to be the last four digits of the phone number of the when they had the bump, the police officer that was acting and handed off the piece of paper. Well, there was a phone number on the piece of paper, and that was what they were talking about, $65.70. When they were talking about a real estate agent, they were talking about, when they were talking about the agent, she was referring to Sigfredo Garcia. They were talking about CD, which is Charles Adelson recording of him, and Donna Adelson. So they actually had a wiretap. So they had the phone after the bump happened. Donna goes back and calls Charlie. They have that on tape, and they referred it to as the CD. Client refers to the undercover agent. False lead refers to the undercover agent and his blackmailing. So there was a whole list. One of two scenarios was uh, either the insider, when they mention one of two scenarios, it's either the insider blackmail versus law enforcement sting. So actually what she thought this whole bump was somebody related to Luis Garcia. That's what she thought it was. And then when they talked about paperwork, it was that they were referring to the piece of paper that was handed to Donna Adelson by the police officer. Um, so I thought that was interesting. The code talk that they used at the. I still now I want to go back and hear that again. It hasn't been played yet that I'm aware of. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else I've left out. Oh, the other reason, because when she got on the stand the second time, during her second trial, she lied. He's like, why did you lie then? Why did you keep lying? You know, Sigfredo's already been sentenced to life in prison, so that's not a reason anymore. So why are you lying? Well, she goes, because I still thought I would get off, and she kept lying afterwards because there was an appeal pending. I had an appeal pending where I was saying I was innocent. She kept thinking she would get off. That didn't happen. And so she kept repeating to him, listen, I wasn't offered any deal. I'm here because he was doing the whole, you can only leave in one of two ways, the prison in coffin or if you give favorable testimony. But aren't you hoping that you'll get some kind of deal after this? And she goes, well, of course I am. I want to see my kids again. So they don't have a deal yet. I suspected that the conversation went something like, if you testify favorably against Charles Adelson and you tell the truth, then we'll offer you something. So maybe that was the deal, but she didn't say that. Then this apparently between her second trial in 2022 and this Charles Adelson trial, she was brought from the prison over to the state attorney's office twice. Well, one time they went to the prison, one time she came over to the state attorney's office to give a proffer of, here's okay, I'm going to work with you. I'm finally going to work with you. Um, here's what really happened. So he kept pointing out that her story kept changing during the proffer. She goes, well, I suppressed a lot of those memories, and so it was just all coming back to me. And um, it's still hard to talk about all this. And he's like, isn't it like you were into the interview 2 hours before you finally said blah blah blah? Yeah, I was lying, but she says, and it took a lot for me to stop lying. Oh well. Interesting. So then they did have Louis Rivera on the stand, but not he didn't. He's the person that Sigfredo hired to go with him up to Tallahassee. He's the head of the Latin Kings, I think. It's a Hispanic gang down in Miami, but he's serving a sentence. Um, at the time he was arrested for this crime, he was serving a federal sentence for racketeering as part of the whole gang thing, and they approached him with a deal. He accepted the deal, and he was serving a 19-year sentence on the racketeering. No, 12-year sentence. 12-year sentence on the racketeering. And then in exchange for, yeah, yeah, in exchange for his testimony, he was offered a 19-year sentence rather than life in prison, like Sigfredo's doing. And so he took the deal, and he's been testifying in all three trials. So, but it was to run concurrent with his federal sentence. So when he gets done with the 12-year federal sentence, he'll still only have 7 years to serve for the murder. And he's going to have gain time if he's behaving himself in jail, and he'll probably get out early. So he's got nothing to lose. So he's on the stand again, testifying against these people. And he was asked by the defense lawyer, isn't it true that you guys were blackmailing Charles Adelson? He goes, I don't even know Charles Adelson. The first time I've ever seen him here in court today. I don't know him. So no, he said no, he wasn't. But and I wouldn't expect him to know Charles Adelson because Sigfredo is, Charles hired Catherine to hire Sigfredo, who hired Louis. So why would Louis know who Charles is? He goes, all I know is that we were trying to help some lady get her kids back. So we agree, And on the way home, you know, or after the murder, Sigfredo got most of the money, and Sigfredo is the actual trigger man. And he said, "Well, why was that? Were you not comfortable pulling the trigger?" He is. It was his job. I just went with him, and he talks about it so casually, like it's just a regular work day for us. It was his job. I just went with him. When we go on my jobs, I do my. Yeah, that's what it. Like how many times have you done these jobs? Yeah, and not gotten caught. Very interesting. So he actually described. He said we dropped off the boy, or when he dropped off the boys, we were following him. We watched him drop off the kids. Then we followed him to the gym. He said we had all this information. We had the information that he was going to be leaving town the next day. He says we got it all from Katie in a phone call. She called us and she told us he's leaving the next day. It's got to be today. Yeah. So interesting testimony. Interesting testimony. What else? What else was I started to listen to Kathy Beatty in the Kowalskis, but I'm going to bring you that tomorrow because I really wanted to get to the Catherine testimony because I knew she was going to come up with something really juicy. And like I said, I don't know if I believe her. I really, because I don't think for me, she didn't fill in all the blanks. And now, how was Charles reacting to her? He had this kind of smirk on his face. He's very smug looking, like he just knows he's going to get off. My lawyer's brilliant. When his lawyer was cross-examining, he just had that look, like, I'm going to get off on this. Um, Interesting, very interesting. But Catherine denied. No, I didn't go to him and tell him that a friend of mine killed your brother-in-law and try to blackmail him. No, I didn't do that. So I knew that he was well off. I didn't know he had that enough money for that, I don't know. To be a fly on the wall and know what really happened. Are we ever going to know what really happened here? I don't think so. What a tangled web we weave. All right, so that's the show for today, guys. I hope you enjoy the content. Don't forget tonight is our Halloween grand finale. I'll be live at 7:30. Come check us out. Yep. I'm going to give away this hat to a member of Patreon. Look down in the description. You can join the channel for as little as $1.99 a month, and your name will go in for the drawing for this hat. And or you can click and become a Patreon. That's even better because then YouTube doesn't get all the money. They both take the cut, so it doesn't matter which one. It doesn't matter. Um, or you could just make a one-time donation. Hit that super thanks button down there. Also hit the like button. Yeah. And subscribe. It's absolutely free. I love you all, and I'll see you tonight.